to Politics in Progress as we come to you from the beautiful Ashworth by the Sea in Hampton. All right, got a couple of important topics we want to get to. We talked a little bit about the State Employees Association. On Monday, the state employees leaders, union leaders, voted to send the latest version of a proposed contract to its members with a recommendation that they vote against it. The State Employees Union, of course, played a significant role in the election of John Lynch to be governor. The last thing he wants to do is say, okay, we got to lay off 700 of you people. First of all, how unusual is it to take a recommendation to your membership and say, we think that you should vote against this?
I don't think it's all that unusual, but the circumstances are so dire right now that, I mean, Senator Cohen would know better than I would from the legislative history, but I don't remember a time in which a decision would trigger layoffs, especially layoffs numbering 700 to 750. I mean, these are big numbers that we're talking about here. A lot of money is at stake, and I mean, the one thing that you can always count on every 2 years is a very colorful debate between the union and the governor of the state of New Hampshire over the next 2-year contract. There's always a great deal of accusation going back and forth. There's, it always sounds like doom and gloom, and then they
everybody's
resolve
happy.
It.
Right.
This is different. This is very different. The stakes are far higher. The accusations are that much sharper, going both directions. And the state employees are facing a lose-lose situation. 19 furlough days, or 750 of my fellow union members are going to be laid off. This is a very difficult decision. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
What kind of public support do the union members get who are saying, well, we don't want to take a furlough, from people who are out there saying, well, at least you have a job. I don't even have a job.
Yeah, I think there's a dynamic to that where people at home saying, well, we're suffering and you're suffering, even though they're probably suffering the very same ills that everyone else is. But the fact of the matter is, this is a huge box, and they're part of that box. An interesting underlying dynamic to this, and not to minimize the situation, which is a very challenge for all families, and I'm not, but getting to the political dynamic that you raised with the introduction, it's ironic that in 2004, when a Governor Lynch beat a Governor Benson, it was a massive turnout race, about 80-something%. A Governor Lynch won by about 14,000 votes, very close race. He won Merrimack County alone by over 15,000 votes. Yeah, a lot of SCA employees in there. There was a lot of pounding by the Concord Monitor. So, I mean, if you really had to look at one constituency that maybe really help our current governor over the finish line, I think you'd be hard-pressed to say it was not the SCA. I mean, it was actually the SCA was probably one of the most valuable to him. And it's ironic that this is going on, and the tenor of the debate in public is really so strong from both sides. There's no mutations in it. They're being very candid, very honest, very critical on both sides, and it's pretty unreal to watch it unfold.
It certainly is a difficult situation for the SCA. They could have losses of 750 of their fellow workers or take furloughs themselves. Now, I think the reality is nobody's insulated, nobody's protected from this recession. That everybody recognizes these are difficult times, and they're in a terrible situation, and it's absolutely true. I don't think Governor Lynch would be there without that. He has lost some credibility with the unions. The unions, I believe, feel that he could have been working far better with them over the period of time. I'm not sure what the answer is here. I think it's Governor Lynch certainly has a tremendous amount of political capital, and he may lose some on this no matter what he does, I think. But it looks like he's been trying to negotiate, and then they had some agreement, and then, as you say, for them to say to their membership, just vote against this. Right. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't have a finger on the pulse of the SEA, rank and file, but it's a very, very difficult situation, and people are going to get hurt no matter what. Yeah.
All right, I want to move on to our next topic because this is kind of an interesting dynamic that is developing with Republicans with regard to Judd Gregg's U.S. Senate seat that he's going to be giving up. This week, 2 new names added to the possible list of Republican candidates. William Binney of Rye, Jim Bender of Hollis. They joined Kelly Ayotte, Ovid LaMontagne, and Sean Mahoney as possible candidates. This list continues to grow with names that a lot of political insiders aren't even that familiar with.
That's a good point. Well, I'm just to start out. These are not names that I'm familiar with, Charlie, and I covered politics in New Hampshire for 15 years. So that doesn't mean that there's a Spradling barometer that's important. Don't get me wrong. But what I am saying is that I think if you're going to aim a barometer at this, I think you've got two things at play here. One is this is an historic situation where it's an open U.S. Senate seat. That's always going to chase folks out, and you're also looking at people that, because of the expense of these races, you have to be able to afford to probably buck up and put a lot of your own money into it. So you've got the kind of folks that probably have had business successes and are maybe somewhat politically or business-wise connected, kicking some tires to take a look. And I also, to be fair, because Kelly Ayotte has been sort of pre-labeled as the front runner in all of this, this could also be a bit of a barometer of what people think about the possible vulnerabilities of Kelly Ayotte in this race.
Bill Binney and Jim Bender, both men of substantial means, at least from what we understand.
I don't know Bender at all, but being in Newcastle and Rye myself, Bill Binney lives nearby. He, I believe, owns the Wentworth Country Club. I'm not a member, but
yet.
I don't think so. He is known. He certainly has some money. He's known a little bit in the Seacoast, but we've had a lot of the old names. I mean, the Thompson dynasty, the Gallen. That's Charlie Bass is probably going to try to make a comeback. But people, I think, often are looking for new names. They want something new, and you all know politics is so much theater. The media is going to watch somebody who's brand new, who can perhaps capture the imagination. It does take a huge amount of money. I mean, Paul Hose is talking about $8 million. $8 million for a U.S. Senate seat. Maybe some of these guys can self-fund. There have been known to be politicians with egos in the past. I know that comes as a great surprise.
I am shocked.
Really?
Shocked.
Here?
Rich, there's still plenty of time, though. If one of these guys has enough money,
Without question, from our taping of the show, there's 401 days to the general election. So that's a lifetime in politics. But in any political election, before you vote for a person, you have to like that person, and before you like that person, you have to know that person. And to build name identification, you really have to have the resources. Not really to kind of match someone maybe who spends $8 million in a campaign, but to at least get your name out and to hit your target audience. And you have some folks in that race who seem to have the capacity to self-fund. That's a benefit. You have others who have a track record in being able to raise it, and we'll see with those who don't have either, maybe who have the promise to do it. But there's a whole year to go, and there's many milestones to go. Will they be able to raise the money? Will they be able to generate the support to build a serious campaign around it? Understand, in a primary, you're looking at maybe 20-25% of the party's faithful coming out to vote. How well will they know their audience and appeal to them? We have a long way to go. We're
almost out of time, Burt, but I have to ask you, is Paul Hodes sitting back licking his chops and saying, oh, let them fight it out, or is he sitting there wondering, are there any Democrats that are going to come out of the woodwork here as well?
I'm hearing grumblings. I am hearing grumblings that there may be other Democrats who may come out. It's a little early for him to be picking the curtains, I'd say, in his office. But one thing, you touched on something there about likability. People want to be able to like you and relate to you, and I think that's something people are looking for. And that can come across on TV, which can be bought.
Good point.
And if people are reading a general election polls, I would advise them they should think about getting in that primary, because I think Mr. Hodes is facing some challenges in the long term. Again, a year to go, he can build his name, but in the short term, there's some challenges with the local polls.
We're not done with tire kickers in this race.
All right, that's true. We will continue to follow it, of course, every Sunday morning right here on Politics in Progress. I want to thank our panel this morning. Thank you, gentlemen. An esteemed panel it is. That's going to do it for us. We'll be back next week, Sunday morning, 11 o'clock from the Ashworth in Hampton Beach. I'm Charlie Sherman. We'll see you next Sunday morning.